You don't have to spend a lot of time in a gorge before you discover one fundamental fact. They're very wet places. They're wet because they've usually got a stream flowing through them, often a waterfall, creates spray, humidity. And they're also situated in a part of the world where it rains a lot. And in this part of Wales, it can rain on 200 or more days a year. The climate's also very mild because the Atlantic Ocean's just over the hill here, and that prevents frost forming. So this unique set of conditions, high humidity throughout the year almost, and a lack of frost, creates these woodlands we call the Atlantic woodlands, and they're very rare on a world scale. Let's just have a look at one small area of these boulders just to get some appreciation of the diversity of wildlife that happens to grow here. This may all look like moss, but in fact very little of it actually is proper moss. There are about 1,000 different sorts of mosses, and they're closely related group called the liverworts. And around here, most of the green bits here are liverworts. This one in particular is one that only occurs in ancient woodland. Beside it, this green, thin, seaweed-like frond is a little tiny fern called filmy ferns. There are 3 different sorts of filmy ferns we get in the ravines of Wales. 2 of them particularly scarce on a world scale, and the Welsh populations are internationally important. This is one called the Tunbridge filmy fern. Over here, this pale coloured organism is a coral lichen. It's actually called black-eyed Susan, and if you look closely at it, you'll see why. The fruit bodies, and remember lichens are a strange organism made up of a fungus and an alga in a partnership. The black structures here is the fungus fruiting, produces black spores, hence the name black-eyed Susan. This one is very rare, confined to just a handful of gorges in West Wales. You've heard of the tropical rainforest. Well, this is our own rainforest. It's the Celtic rainforest. It is so rare, we must make sure that when we use it for recreation, we don't damage the special plants and wildlife that live here. This is a particularly well used ravine. 10 to 15 parties a day might pass through it. That's 200 to 300 feet. And together they've trampled most of the vegetation off the rocks behind me. You can see how smooth and shiny they are. Whereas over to the left, moss covered is what their natural position should be. So if you are using a ravine like this, stick to the path. Don't make the damage any worse. There's also some very special plants that can occur in ravines like this. For example, the little hawkweeds that occur in the gorge here are found hardly anywhere else in the world, and just trampling half a dozen of them could threaten their existence. Here's a group gorge walking. They've been briefed by their leader before they started, and they know just how much damage they would cause if they don't stick to the established route. This may look like a wonderful wild ravine, but 80 years ago it was at the centre of the Industrial Revolution. They quarried silica from the cliffs above, turned it into bricks, which were used to line the furnaces of Europe, and transported the bricks down this ravine. Now, 60 years after the manufactory stopped, the woodlands have recovered. They've recovered to the extent that they're now considered to be of European importance. This is a special area of conservation. Here's a well-trampled entry point to a gorge, but even close by, on these boulders here where nobody has touched them, deep cushions of mosses and liverworts on the edge remain. As we come down the slope here where people have sat and occasionally trampled, different range of tougher mosses and liverworts, not the sort we'd normally expect to find here, and on the path below, just bare earth because there are no mosses and liverworts that can cope with that amount of trampling. These Welsh gorges are one of the rarest habitats on the planet. Many are protected by European directives. I want you to enjoy them, but not destroy them or damage them. So follow the code of conduct that's been developed. Don't create any new trails, follow the existing trails. Go single file, don't try and overtake people. Help people before you or behind you. So you stick in a very narrow passage. Stick to the stream where the water has worn away the plants off the rocks. These are the most robust bits of the gorge. Admire, but don't damage the plants around you. Look at this wonderful beach fern, one of the specialities of these gorges. The little tiny filmy ferns that you can see on the rocks. They're one of the rarest plants in Wales. On a world scale, we've got most of the populations of Wilson's filmy fern. Many species are still to be catalogued, and it wouldn't be impossible for you to destroy a plant or an animal that we've not yet even identified. If you have to rest up, do so in an area of boulders where the streams worn the plants away, or on shingle, so you don't destroy the vegetation. Some of these organisms in here are incredibly rare and you could easily exterminate them. But enjoy it. It's a wonderful place. It's going to be one of the most rarest and most special places you'll ever visit in your life. Scrambling through these wonderful gorges in Wales is an experience that you'll never forget. It's not just an obstacle course to get through as fast as you can. Remember to stop, to smell, to look around you, to listen to the sounds. This is one of nature's most fantastic habitats. If you follow the code, leave only your footprints, then it'll be here for all of us to enjoy for a long time to come.